Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night eoLIFE Thursday Night Live. I can never say it right. Welcome to eoLIFE Thursday Night Live.
I feel like it's like Saturday Night Live and we should have had a skit.
Right. So I'm Rosie Grummer, if you guys haven't met me before, and this is my dear friend Kristen Randak, and she is going to be helping tonight with our part 2 of boosting our healthy foods with essential oils. And she's got some great recipes to share with you. And I've got a couple tips and tricks too, but she's kind of the star of the show because I got her to come and help. I'm super excited about that. I want to share just a little bit about Kristen. Here is what I have noticed about Kristen is she is a really good question asker. Whenever she is moving forward with what her body needs or what she's even going to do for other people, she asks questions internally about how is this going to serve? What other things can be the benefit of whatever it is that she's doing? And she has this really long and wise history that has to do with plant medicine and with holistic healing. And so I'm super excited to just hear what comes out of her mouth.
No pressure.
And I'm super excited for you guys to learn from her too. So we decided that we were going to start with, come on, there's a picture. Oh, yeah. A reminder.
A reminder, right. A reminder that there's 3 ways we can use essential oils: aromatically, topically, and internally. Is this what they're seeing on the screen?
Yes.
Oh, I love this. So remember when you get out your, and we don't even have any essential oils out, do we? When you look at your bottle, you'll see it has supplement facts, and that means it can be used internally. So because we're talking about foods, we want to make sure that all the oils, oh yes, Rosie's little tray. So we want to make sure that it actually has supplement facts on it. So I think we always use Deep Blue as the example that would just have ingredients, not supplements. So just always want to make sure that we're doing that. And then a lot of the oils that we use with food are kind of either really strong because they're so condensed, because celery seed is a potent oil, that you want to be really careful. So I think Rosie mentioned last week to use a toothpick, and you can just put it in the orifice reducer.
Here's oregano, which is another good example. Really, really strong. You can ruin your salad dressing if you, or your
tomato
dish,
sauce.
Or your sauce, whatever, with an entire drop. Our Cooking with Essential Oils class that Stacey Cahill did, that's on our YouTube channel, she covers this. I covered it in part 1 as well. You can just put a toothpick down in that little orifice reducer hole right there, and then you can swirl that around. And I actually have a recipe tonight that we'll talk about that too.
Perfect. So I think those are, yeah, you can. So I think those are always just good reminders when we're cooking with things. And I have actually ruined things.
I have too.
Before, thinking I could just get half a drop, like I'm going to be so quick.
No,
don't do it.
No, basil is notorious for ruining recipes.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't taste, the oil is different than what you're expecting as well. So sometimes you have to adjust with that. So
yeah. And one last thing that is really important is the only oils that I ever recommend for anybody to use internally and use in their food are doTERRA's essential oils, specifically for this reason. Every single time that a batch is sourced from their growers, there are multiple third-party and in-house tests. So we know that it's only the essential oil that's in there, no solvents, anything used to extract it, no stray pesticides blowing over from another field, anything like that. So only use doTERRA's internally. Okay, now on to the slide I thought we were going to.
So Rosie, I think you showed like these huge bags of kale that she had last week. And so she made kale chips, and I'm sure that they either got eaten or maybe
they're gone.
They're gone. So that's how my family feels about kale chips. And I know kale is kind of like this, I don't know, it's a controversial vegetable. We know it's really nutritious. We know we're supposed to eat it. but people are like, really? You want me to eat kale? Well, I'm going to tell you what, these are my family's, like they beg for these. And I have boys and they eat vegetables. So even if they don't eat vegetables, like people who come over it and they love these.
Now
So
I'm gonna stop the share for just a second because it's gonna be more fun to see what you're doing.
So what I did was I cheated. I went and I bought organic chopped kale. I'm many times happy to get things out of the garden, and I still have some kale that was out there, but I was in a hurry. And if everybody's like me, which I think we all are busy, or we just lazy,
Busy.
we want the fast way. So I just went and got chopped kale. Trader Joe's is my favorite, but I went to the Kroger and I filled up this entire Ziploc bag. It was filled to the top. And then I put in a little bit of oil, and I used avocado oil. I did my juicer thing, and I have a whole lime in here. And then I put in some salt and pepper and a little bit of the magic ingredient called nutritional yeast. So that's pretty cool. You can put different seasonings in. So sometimes I put in garlic or onion or things like that. I love it kind of with this really good lemon limey flavor. So then I add just 2 drops of lemon oil into it. And I put the whole thing in here. And tonight I put in chili powder and some sriracha. So you can put this on a dehydrator and dehydrate it, and then it would be completely raw. But my family doesn't like to wait that long, and so we put it in here. And I do this so that I can shake it up and coat all of it. And if you know anything about kale, and maybe you're a kale lover, you know that it can be a little bit tough. So I've gotten out all the stems out of it, and then I just shake it so that it coats it completely. So you can kind of see that it kind of, look how much it shook down.
I want to show a little trick.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
That's why I ran away. So this is kale out of the garden. Doesn't always look as pretty as what you buy in the store, right? You can get some sunburned parts and
gorgeous.
everything. And like she was saying, the stem is tough. So I usually snip it off, and I'll snip up the spine with it wrapped in half like that. And then that is what I make.
That's so smart with the scissors. I just do the same thing with the knife.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'll do scissors. And if it's a really big leaf, because that happens, then I'll cut off this top part up where that slit goes to, and then I end up with 3 pieces of big kale leaf, right? So I hope you guys got the gist of that, but this actually was not washed yet.
Okay. We won't put it in.
There's probably some aphids on there.
So perfect. More protein.
Yeah.
That's what my dad always says.
Mhm.
Just eat it. My mom, dad, just go ahead. Okay, so then we're gonna actually bake it, and I'll show you how quick it can bake up. So I'm literally just dumping out the entire thing onto this tray, and I'll wash my hands afterward before I touch the computer again.
Yeah.
And it looks like a lot, but it's, I mean, and I guess it truly is, but you're getting your grains in here. Does it smell good?
Mm-hmm. Did you share with them when I was gone what you put in your marinade?
I did.
Oh, good.
Now I won't tell.
I'll watch the recording.
I'm just kidding. I was just saying that you could put a lot of things in. You can just make them salt and pepper.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to put anything fancy in it.
I even just coat them only in oil, and then I have some of this real salt, organic seasoning salt, and we'll just shake it over the top. And my family loves that. They think they taste a little bit like chips they buy at the store. So it's one of their favorite ways to have kale chips. And then how long do you cook it, did you say?
So I usually set a timer for about 15 minutes to just kind of start checking on it. And, but you can smell it because of those seasonings and whatnot. And I have also not set timers, and it starts to, it's not quite like overly burned, but it'll be a little bit crispy. And so like the little small pieces you don't eat, But even that, and I know there's carcinogens in that, but that little bit of char on it isn't bad.
Yeah.
So
Depends on the person, what they prefer.
True.
Right. Darren loves that flavor. I don't love that flavor.
yeah, so you just have to watch it. And sometimes I get some chopsticks or something and stir it too. If after 15 minutes, like part of it's done and part of it's not. And it's creating a chip, like it's going to be crispy. You kind of saw how wilty they were, but they're going to be crispy.
Yeah, they're super light and flaky. If you've not ever had them before, it just does this really fantastic kind of dissolvey crunch thing in your mouth. It's hard to explain. You have to experience it.
It's true. And I bought some recently. They were very ridiculously expensive. Like you can buy 3 bags of chopped kale probably for the price I paid for these in a container this big, a little plastic container.
Mm-hmm.
But they were curry coconut, and I was like, oh, I need those, and they were good.
Mm-hmm.
But my family tried them and they were like, yours are way better, Mom.
Well, good.
So yeah, so perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, let's go back to our screen sharing. Of course, if you guys have any questions, put them down there in the chat. We'll answer them later. Where is my screen share? There you go. And if you why didn't it go back to the screen we were on before?
It don't like us.
Just because it doesn't like us. Oh, look, now it's giving me the option to resume. There we go. And if you're catching this recorded, then put it down in the comments and we'll be able to help you there too. Okay, Kristen, this is your recipe too.
I know. So I think we do more kale chips in the fall because in the summertime, I don't like to turn my oven on as much. Even though I have AC, it doesn't seem to happen. So kale chips are definitely a fall thing. And we know that we've got all kinds, at least I'm seeing all kinds of treats out there right now. Halloween's coming. So this is my solution to not feeling guilty about having a delicious treat. So this is really, really easy. And I just buy pitted. It's easier if you buy pitted dates. And I try to buy the organic ones. They have them both ways, but especially where it's raw. And then I usually double this recipe because then I put it in the fridge. And I think, again, it comes down to being lazy. This recipe I took specifically from Medical Medium. He has a book with this. And then see how he's got the slice of apples like that? If you actually just take a whole apple and just cut it into pieces and then take like a little cookie cutter or something to pop out the centers, you've got apple rings. And if you spread this on there, it's the easiest, most delicious, delightful thing. So it looks, the only ingredients that go into this are dates and cinnamon and then a little bit of water if it's needed. And I had some dates that I found. This how I started this recipe. They were old and they weren't bad. They just were really dried. So I soaked them for a couple of hours before and I was skeptical. No, they turned out just great. So the one thing you do need is either a food processor, which I find, I have a Ninja blender, and I find my food processor does better with this. I've done it in both. But I've tried to do it in my Blendtec, and I found that I was doing pulse, scrape, pulse, scrape, right? Which was fine. It got the job done. Like I said last time, don't let something like that hold you back from actually making it. Just remember you're not having to beat it by hand. So anything mechanical that you've got that can help you out is a good thing. And it really is so quick and easy. I mean, if this is something like people come home from work or they come home from school and while you kind of are fixing dinner or whatever, this isn't going to ruin your dinner. It's just going to kind of tide you over. And dates are naturally so sweet anyway, and they turn into this caramel. That picture, it pretty much looks exactly like that. And as far as the 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, what I do is I put in a whole drop, which is strong, so you could go with less with a toothpick, of cinnamon oil. I've tried cassia oil, not as good. I've tried. just personal preferences though. You could try things.
What about ginger?
I've tried ginger too, and ginger is really good. The other thing I've done is something similar to what Rosie does with the ginger water all blended up. You can take a little bit of that instead of a little bit of water to kind of make it smoother.
Right.
And then put that in there. And then you're getting the kind of whole food nutrition
boost of that ginger water too. That's a really good idea.
So that's really good.
I love this as a way to use up old dates because I've had that happen before too, and they're hard. And it even says right in here, just soak them for a couple hours first and then blend them up. It's great.
And I think it's so wonderful. My favorite apples to use this with though are kind of tart apples, and I'm trying to think of the new one that I just found. I can't remember the name of it, but so like a Granny Smith apple, but one that has a tartness to it because it goes so well with the tart and the sweet together. So that's the only one I think I didn't make tonight because I ate the last of it today.
Oh, that must be a horrible recipe if you ate the last of it. Oh, me and trying to get them to advance. Okay, I'm super excited about this because I haven't tried this yet.
Okay, this is actually, so I've been doing a cleanse for the past 2 weeks. And I notice with eating more raw foods that especially in the fall, I'm colder. So I need things to warm me up. So this I did completely heat up, and that I double this recipe too because I like to save time. So I like to have it.
I'm ready to try it. Keep talking.
Hot?
I don't know.
Okay, it is. So I have done this 2 ways. It says in the recipe to put it in a blender and blend it up, but I've also just put it in a jar like this and just shake. But this is, manual and harder. I also can't find any pumpkin pie spice in my house, so I kind of made it up. So there we go. So I make a huge double recipe of that. It fits in here, and usually when you blend it up, then it gets a little bit frothy and bigger, so it doesn't quite all fit in here. So you have to have a little cup, and it's perfect cold too. I know some people are really ambitious and maybe they make their own almond milk, which is not that hard to do, but I just buy the organic stuff from the grocery store.
Smells so good.
So I like a little bit extra pumpkin in it. Now they have on here a whipped cream, and that is a coconut whipped cream where you take the can of coconut, you put it in the fridge.
This is delicious.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
I know, and it warms you up. You're hungry.
It's like dessert. You guys, this is good. You have to try this. Take a screenshot of this one.
This is really good. And that's it. I mean, so also in this, and I've tried different things. I love the ginger oil in this. I love cinnamon oil in it, and I actually love the cardamom in it.
Oh yeah.
And you use the cardamom in the balls last week, so it's kind of like a chai pumpkin spice.
So on this recipe, the way it's written, we've got the pictures over the front for us, so that doesn't help. Let me move it over. Does it say how to substitute or to add oils, or did you talk about that?
It doesn't, because I just pulled that right off of Medical Medium. So in this, I actually put the spices in as well as the oils, because I think that there's, I don't know, it makes it look pretty. It makes it look like pumpkin pie.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the actual cinnamon spice swirling around in there. So when you make a double batch, what oils do you add in? Or how much?
I put in, maybe that's also why I like to make a double batch too, because then it's distributing it more. So I put in a whole drop of cinnamon, a whole drop of ginger. That's pretty gingery tonight because I also added some of the ginger water.
Ginger water.
Yeah.
It's delicious though. I love ginger. It's not too spicy, but it's definitely warming. Like I can feel it.
And the great part about this is, so it's using maple syrup. So it's more natural things. And these are things that actually support our bodies in a completely different way. So dates are actually like so nourishing for our body. They support us in ways that white sugar can't. So I know people go, yeah, but it's still sugar. Maple syrup is still sugar. And technically, yes, that's true. like it still falls in that category, but maple syrup actually has all these nutrients in it as well. So you're getting a different kind of blood sugar reaction with it than you are with if you just put sugar in there.
It's true. And
So-
there are constituents in the dates, for example, that are really good for helping your internal organs to do all of the things that they're meant to do. So if you are looking at food as your medicine and your food being able to help your body to heal and do what it wants to do anyway, then they are really like ditch the white sugar and add in some, allow yourself to have some dates and some maple syrup, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And honey's another,
Raw
honey
Mhm.
is another good one. So the coconut whip is really good. It's just a little more trouble, and I'm a busy girl. We're calling lazy busy.
Yeah,
So
you're a busy girl.
try this one out, you guys. It's so good.
It's so delicious.
And no caffeine, right? And you still feel like you're getting your delicious treat.
Well, and I'm thinking of what with that cardamom and ginger
Oh yeah.
is doing to help support my throat, my lymph system, my lungs. Like
It doesn't just taste good.
it doesn't just taste good. Like this could be a good nightly routine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As we're moving into fall, and along with that coming like this, we are recording this in the fall, and my dining room table, for example, is covered with 4 boxes of pears right now over there, and our bodies naturally are going to be moving away from some of the lighter foods of summer. Did you already talk about this?
Go ahead.
Of like berries and a bunch of salads and citrusy things, and moving into things that do have a little bit more fat, a little bit more of this slow release sugar. I have chickens, and you change the feed that you give them in the winter so that they can stay warm. And we don't necessarily want to be like a bear and put on a lot of extra hibernation girth, but we do want to respect what our bodies are trying to do. The nights are longer, the daylight is shorter, and our bodies are moving into a different season too, right?
Which is why with eating so much more raw food with the cleanse, I was saying I needed something like this to help warm me up. I've been drinking a lot of like honey lemon tea. And I forgot to say that in the apple dip, the caramel date dip, I have actually just done a drop of On Guard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be delicious.
And it triggered that memory when you said it's supporting. So I think these are ways we can sneak oils into our family. Oh, I can smell the.
No, we never have to do that. Oil sneaking.
Oh yeah, look, that's perfect. See, I can start to smell. I'm smelling the kale chips. So
Do you need to move them around?
yeah.
Do you want to talk about your next recipe and I'll
Sure.
flip them around?
Sure, sounds good. So this recipe is not, the others were mostly raw. This recipe is, oh yeah, look at this. Oh, they probably, here, how do we turn off the stop share for a sec?
Yeah, I just hit the stop share.
Okay, there you go.
I don't want to burn you.
You're not gonna hurt me.
Look at how much they've shrunk. Look at my really well-loved pans.
And Rosie does the same thing as I do with the Silpak kind of thing. Oh yeah, they're perfect. Yep.
Do we need to do them for a long time?
No, how long was that? 44 seconds. So I was close. So Rosie also did a convection oven.
They're a little wet in the middle.
Are they a little wet in
Yeah,
the middle?
we could
We'll
flip
stir them
around.
up and slip them back in.
So here's what I'm saying when I'm saying they're a little wet in the middle. Like it's kind of sticking, and I can see that glossy on them still a little bit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and you don't have to be precise.
This
I'll
one's
just throw in it, Kristen.
And this one's
What temperature is up in the oven?
350. She's using
Thanks.
the convection.
But you don't have to.
No,
I
I don't have that, so.
I'm just.
But that's a nice
I
one.
have it, so I use it.
Oh,
right?
look at that crispy piece right there.
She's gonna eat that
Oh,
one.
see.
So we'll just put it in for another minute and a half, and it will get the rest of that.
So good. Okay. Go back to screen share.
You got it?
No, maybe. There we go. Well done. Okay, so this recipe is my complete cheater, so fast. I used to spend hours and hours making this kind of Mexican style tortilla style type soup. This is like I have come home from being in the mountains for the last 10 hours. The canyon ride up was miserable. The canyon ride down was too long. It's like so late.
Just a little bit of history. She works at a ski resort during the winter. So genuinely 16, 18 hours
Yeah,
a day.
it's kind of crazy sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'll come home though, and this literally can be put together in 20 minutes. It's so fast. And the best part about it is the cheat part about this. Can I move this over?
Mhm.
You'll have to. I'm not as good with Rosie's computer as I am with mine. So is that you get the salsa verde. And you're gonna probably experiment with which brands you like. I'm a Trader Joe's girl, and you have to think about your heat level. So do you want it really spicy? Go with the Hatch chilies. If you want it mild, or people in your family want it mild, they can just add some hot sauce in later. Go with the tomatillos, like really mild. And probably everybody start there unless your family loves spicy.
I think most families already have like a favorite salsa.
Sure.
So you just use
But this is, well, it's not the tomato salsa, it's green salsa.
right.
Yeah, it's salsa verde. So, and I just put that in, dump in the whole can of diced tomatoes. And then if you have a rotisserie chicken, my husband's been making those on the Traeger all summer. Can you see the kale? Yum. Oh, it smells so good. But sometimes like maybe you had a chicken from the night before and you have a breast left over, like whatever works like that. And it doesn't even have to be 3 cups. This is like the whatever is in your fridge that's going to work kind of soup. This is just the basis of it. Because the salsa verde also already has like all these seasonings in it, you don't need to chop up an onion. You don't need to chop up garlic. You can add more of those seasonings if you want them, but probably just a little bit more cumin is all I add in. Now, depends on the kind of eating style. So sometimes I have 8 kids, if you don't know that. And so we have a broad range of people and the way that they eat. So we have a lot of food allergies and food preferences. So I will make this without the chicken, and I'll put the chicken on the side, and then whoever is a meat eater can put the chicken in. So if you're a vegetarian, don't worry about it. Just leave this out. Some people don't do beans because of something else or something. Corn, right? So all of that can be adjusted. So I love rice in it, even when I'm not eating grains very much. It somehow feels so nourishing and yummy. So this is like, you have some leftover rice in the fridge, great. If not, then put in 1/2 cup of rice and then add a little bit more water because the broth that will get absorbed by the rice. So, and then you just, whatever works for you and your family and your eating style. So if you're a complete vegetarian, put the rice and beans in. If you want to do chips, my kids love the chips in it, then throw some tortilla chips in it. I've recently been eating, well, not recently, but I guess for a while now, been eating the grain-free tortilla chips, also really yummy. Mm-hmm. So if you don't do cheese or dairy, don't do the sour cream. You can add cheese onto this. The avocado is really nice because it adds the fat to it, and the fat helps to give us that satiated feeling. So this is like, you got to try this and let me know how it goes, because this is
kind of like a pick your plan soup.
Totally.
Like I said in part 1, this isn't about a specific type of eating. There's lots of different specific diets and eating plans for whatever you're trying to target, right? And so this really is, someone could adjust it to meet what would suit them.
And because we have all the allergies, all the preferences, everything. So the best part about this though is the broth. So, but it can be ready in 20 minutes.
I love it. Do you have, well, I was going to say, I happen to have cumin oil because there was a summer special a few years ago where
that was.
if you purchased 200 PV order, then you got this little 4 set of
let's
cooking
smell it.
oils. So you want to smell that? So any of the spices that you would normally use for your cooking for this kind of thing, again, you can augment and add and boost up the ORC score, boost up the wellness pieces by once your soup is cooked and you've actually taken it off the heat, that is then when you would add some essential oil for flavor. And again, you'd want to use the toothpick method. Like some people love, love, love cilantro. You're going to ruin your pot of soup if you put in a drop of cilantro.
This is one I've done this too.
Yeah.
So, which how I fixed it was just making
More soup.
She quadrupled the soup recipe.
I don't know, but that's what I've had to do before.
I do put cilantro oil in this, and I will also put lime oil in this at
yum.
the end.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good lime flavor. So I've done that plenty of times when I don't have limes, fresh limes or lime juice. I just put a drop of it doesn't give it the zing that the citrus does, but it gives you the flavor of it. So
yeah,
it's yum.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's move to the next one. Kristen's going to sample the kale chips. All right. I said last time I was going to talk a little bit about salad dressings. And, you know, in our culture, we really are a little bit acclimated to thinking that our dressing has to have some fat and that it has to have vinegar in it. And this is honestly one of my favorite and fastest raw dressings to mix up. I literally just grab my blender. I put in 100% orange juice, organic. There's nothing else in it. A garlic clove, a teaspoon of raw honey, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne. And I blend it all up. Now it is thin. So if I am feeling like I need some avocado, then what I'll do is I'll take a half an avocado, I'll smash it up in my salad bowl. I'll add in the amount of dressing I'm going to have. I just kind of stir it all up and then I toss it over my salad. And then I listed for you guys some different essential oil possibilities to boost. But I use this as my basis for my salad dressings. And then I just manipulate it around to have it taste a little bit different depending on what I want to do. Now, a lot of times I do double it. So it's okay then if I'm adding like a whole drop of oregano. I love the taste of oregano, so that's okay for me, but it might not be okay for somebody else. You might want to try the toothpick method and keep, you know, taking a little piece of lettuce and dipping it in your dressing and giving it a taste rather than doing a whole drop of oregano. And then I honestly, like this is her chai, but I honestly end up just keeping it in the fridge like this and it will separate, because there's nothing in there that's a stabilizer. And I have it keep for a week, sometimes a little bit more, just like if you're doing juicing, and I just shake it up before I use it. And it's delicious, I love it. I've also used the ginger lemon water as a basis instead of the orange juice, just for another different twist on it too, and that's really good as well. So yeah, this is one of my, I eat this all the time. It's one of my favorite dressings. And then I want to talk a little bit about soups. Again, when you're talking about eating raw, it can be so easy to just whip yourself up some soup. And you don't have to have a fancy blender to do this, because we're not talking about stuff that's frozen or like, for example, if you're going to make those power balls that I showed you guys last week, they're really dense. And so you have to have something that has some power, some power behind it, right? But when you're making soups, you can just use a regular blender. So again, this is a basis recipe that I use. It's adapted from another one of Anthony Williams' recipes. He actually roasts the red peppers and the tomatoes. And so it's a roasted red pepper and tomato soup, but I have been focusing on eating raw. And so I removed that part and I have found that this works. Again, I'll double this and then I make up a bunch. And this literally, Kristen can attest, I pulled this out of my fridge. So this is soup that I made 2 days ago. And when I'm working and doing my thing during the day and I'm like, oh, I feel like it's time to have lunch, I just will shake this up and it's delicious. I'll just I'll just drink it right out of the jar because I'm the only one that drinks it.
I've seen her do it.
So this is actually this red pepper and tomato soup right there in this jar, and it's really yummy. When I had a fresh basil plant, I plucked it every time I made it and added the fresh basil leaves in there as well. But again, I've done something similar where I start with the same basis of having some orange juice, and then I've put in like a handful of spinach and a couple leaves of kale and added that celery stalk, and then added the garlic clove and seasoned it up a little bit and had a really nice spinach soup too. And that also is good either warm or cold.
I've done that one as well, and I add more like lemon or lime to it than
Yes.
the orange. And I have a psychological thing with my soups, and I have wondered forever because I just really didn't understand acai bowls or the whole concept behind that. And I made a more like the soup Rosie just kind of described, where it's spinach and I put asparagus in and just blend it all up. And
Oh, I did an asparagus one too.
yeah,
Really good.
so good.
Yeah.
And put it in a bowl, and it's a cold soup, but you know, I'm eating it with a spoon. And my husband loved it actually and said, I think this would be great as a smoothie. Will you make this for me tomorrow for lunch? And I said, absolutely. Well, I made the same exact thing for him and took a drink from a glass like he was doing, and I thought it tasted horrible.
Didn't work.
It didn't work. So I had to sit down, put it in a bowl, and eat it with a spoon. The same food. The same food. And it was delicious in a bowl with a spoon.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's important to pay attention to those kinds of things because so as Kristen's saying that, another thing I've done with that spinach one is then taken spiralized cucumber and had the spiralized cucumber in the bowl and then poured,
I've done that too.
yeah, the spinach soup over the top, and that was so good. And it was a whole different experience. It felt like I was having something totally different to eat, even though it was the exact same thing. So I know you guys are probably like, they are weirdos.
Yes, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. If you guys have any questions at all about any of these recipes, you know we're here to help. I think some really good rules of thumb. Let me stop the share. Did we have another one? Oh, we do have one more.
What's
I don't
it
want to cut that short. But a really good rule of thumb, and we just keep saying it over and over again, is you can see right here a swirl of a toothpick of basil oil. I just cannot stress that enough, that you can't, when you get too much of an essential oil into a dish, the only way to remedy it is then like make 4 times as much of it so that you're diluting how much essential oil is in there. So always start by adding way less than you think you need rather than the other way around.
And make sure it gets mixed really well.
Right.
Yeah.
And remember last week I talked about how one way to make sure that your essential oil is being distributed in what you're doing is to add it into some other kind of a carrier. Now, many people who are eating a vegan, raw vegan, they don't have any oils at all. If they're going to have some oil, it would be like just some avocado, right? And so that tip I gave of adding it to an oil like sunflower oil or olive oil and then stirring it in, it isn't going to be relevant. But I can still add the essential oil to the liquid part of my orange juice and then make that work. Or like if I've made the soup and I've blended it all up, I'll swirl it in and then I'll blend it some more so that it will get thoroughly distributed. And if you want your soup to be hot and still be raw-ish, then just have your blender be the thing that brings it to that just warm enough to drink temperature, not necessarily all the way up to heated and cooked, and eat it with a spoon. Okay, one more recipe. This is actually one that doTERRA has put out, and I have made this, and it's something that my family will eat too. They like it. They're the kind of people that really like. It's funny because I eat a lot of vegetables, just like I can just grab broccoli or carrots or cauliflower or whatever and just eat it, and I love them. Snap peas, tomatoes, asparagus, it doesn't matter. I just eat it all raw, right? They want to dip. It's like they think that the vegetable is a dip vehicle, not that it's all about the vegetable.
I get that.
Yeah. So maybe you have some people like that in your home too. And you could always take a couple of these things that maybe are not things that stand out for them and remove them. We have some people in our family that just cannot do olives. And so I've made this before without the olives. So I just thought this was a great recipe to include in here too. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and
I want to point out real
go
quick
ahead.
something on there. So if you notice, they have 7 drops of basil oil on there. Like it's like this is something that they
It
have
does?
a lot of. Mhm.
Oh, good
And
grief.
2 drops
I don't ever do that
of
much.
rosemary and 4 drops of fennel. I'm going to tell you in part why that can happen versus the other ones is because on this is also some olive oil. So that actually changes, like when you have more oil. So when I make a creamy soup, and I love using coconut milk for my creamy soups, I can add more oils to it because that fat, just in the same way, water and oil doesn't mix. We know that oils and oils mix. So it's the same kind of thing. I also would just be a little careful with that.
Yeah, honestly, I have to tell you guys, I don't think I've ever noticed that was a 7 before. I've done the other ones the way they're written, but I'm pretty sure I've done 1. I mean,
You read it as
I'm
one.
reading, I'm trying to get in really close. And I read it as a 1. I just assumed because basil is so strong and I read it as a 1. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm going to stop the share and I want to share with you a little bit about what I'm going to cover next week in part 3. I've got a whole bunch of ideas and I actually have to narrow them down. In fact, I had a couple of other things. I was like, Kristen, I want to share about this. I want to share about this. Now I better say that for next week because it'll go too long. One of the things I want to talk about is using your slow cooker or your instant pot, whichever one you have, and using essential oils and boosting your healthy food with those things. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about food preservation because I'll have some good examples since I've got 4 books and boxes of pears over there to share with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If you're on live, then we'd love to have your questions if you've got any. And if you're catching the recording, then you can just share them down in the comments and we'll answer those from the comments.